So with The Last of Us Season 2 creaking right around the corner, it is now time for me to give you my thoughts on Season 1 of The Last of Us, because honestly, it's wild to think that it's been 2 years since the Season 1 finale for this show actually came out, and it's just honestly wild to think about. But yeah, with all that big chunky intro out of the way, I want to just get into my thoughts for Season 1 of The Last of Us in preparation for The Last of Us Season 2. So the first thing I want to talk about in this review is the story. The story is golden in this first season. It is really, really action-packed, really entertaining, and also it is very, very emotional at some points. You know, with the entire backstory with Ellie, with Joel saving Ellie, but not because Ellie wanted it, because Joel wanted it. Because throughout all 9 episodes of The Last of Us Season 1, you get to see Joel kind of open up to Ellie and think of Ellie as his daughter. At one point, he even calls her baby girl, which he also called his own daughter in episode 1, but unfortunately, since this is going off the video game adaptation of The Last of Us semi at least, they kill off Sarah in like the first few minutes of episode 1, which I don't mind at all. You know, going into like video game live action adaptations, I expect like them to always go off the backbone of the video game for the show or movie that is being shown to the viewers, but with this, you could feel like they're doing their own thing while also loosely keeping the events of the actual video game involved in everything. And it is just so enjoyable, and the directors and writers really pull it off and do it so perfectly and make all 9 episodes entertaining, even though there is one filler episode with Ellie telling her backstory. And honestly, her backstory is really entertaining. Usually with apocalypse shows or any real show, if you ever get the backstory for like the main character, it's usually a very, very boring filler episode, and like it leaves you, like the previous episode leaves you with a big cliffhanger, and then the next episode picks up with the backstory of our main character, and then it's just boring. Now they do something very similar with that, with the so-called death of Joel happening at the end of episode 6, but then in episode 7 they do Ellie's backstory, but they keep the present day involved as well. They like lean into that aftermath of Joel getting stabbed, Joel getting injured and bleeding out and almost dying. Of course, Ellie takes care of him, and that is when we really get the backstory for Ellie, and her backstory is just so beautifully done. But the reason I'm mentioning that now instead of when I actually talk about the character of Ellie herself is because it's a huge part of the story, because she is the main character basically. You know, I could go into Joel's kind of backstory with his daughter and with his brother Tommy, but there's not much there to really say, you know, like Joel's just a normal guy with a daughter who lives with his brother, and they're just living a normal life, eating some breakfast, and then they go on, live their normal lives, go to work. Tommy gets arrested, Joel has to go pick him up, but while this is happening, an outbreak happens, and Sarah is caught in the middle of it and almost dies several times, but of course Joel and Tommy come right on time to save her, but then eventually them trying to escape doesn't work, and an officer actually finds them, and stupidly they think of them as infected, so he tries to kill Joel and Tommy and Sarah, but Tommy manages to kill the officer before anything bad could happen. Well, not really, because the officer does manage to shoot some bullets, and unfortunately one of those bullets hits Sarah and kills her. But yeah, that's really all to say with Joel's backstory. You know, it wasn't a major part of the story, at least in the show, because in the actual video game you have to go through an entire mission where you play as Joel's daughter yourself, and you kind of like get through all these levels of experiencing what's going on. But no, in this time they do like have you follow Joel's daughter, but that's only for like a minute or two before you're following Tommy and Joel again. And then of course that the death of Sarah happens, and that's that. You know, they don't spend a lot of time at all with Joel's backstory. I'm pretty sure out of the hour episode that was episode 1 of The Last of Us, we only got maybe like a 15-minute or even 10-minute backstory for Joel. But during those minutes, they definitely did everything that they needed to, and I think they did a perfect amount. They didn't really need to waste an entire episode on Joel's backstory, because there wasn't much to really find there. You know, they'd find more with Ellie's backstory. That's why there was a full episode with Ellie's backstory, because there's much more substance there, you know, because she is, after all, immune to this cordyceps fungi infection that is going around, that is causing the clickers that is sourcing from bread or anything with those types of products, like bread, pancake mix, stuff like that, you know. And you know, like very early on that she is basically unstoppable vulnerable with this infection due to the fact that she has been attacked, because in episode 7 it is clearly indicated that her friend who she was out with at the mall, which was abandoned, they came across a walker that bit her, not Ellie, bit Ellie's friend, and unfortunately Ellie's friend, I mean, they did both get bit, but Ellie's friend turned and Ellie didn't, making her immune to it, but also keeping that scar that kind of makes people skeptical, because like the cordyceps fungi infection is in her blood. That is why the scanner at the end of episode 1 with that officer turns out the color that indicates that she is infected, because it is in her blood. But of course Joel at the end of that episode was very, very paranoid, because it was a very similar situation that he had with his daughter, so he just leaps into action and beats the officer basically half to death. But yeah, we do still follow Joel's story way more than we do Ellie's story in the first episode and the second episode, really, because I mean mainly in that first episode you follow his story more, because like it's 20 years later, you're seeing how he's recovering mentally. I mean, he's just like a shelled, broken guy basically because of the death of his daughter, and you're really seeing that. But yeah, that was all about the story. Literally like what, 7, 6, 8 minutes on the story itself. The story is just amazing, and I cannot say enough great things about it. It is golden. But now moving on to the character of Joel himself. Joel, brilliantly played by Pedro Pascal, one of my favorite actors. Honestly, Joel is so awesome in this show. He is such a badass from the moment you get introduced to him to the moment that the credits roll on the series first season final, because honestly he does do some controversial things, especially in episode 9, but we'll kind of get to that as we're breaking down his character. But yeah, Pedro Pascal just plays him perfectly, and he clearly is a hardened survivor. He's a very tough guy, and just seeing his character development throughout the 9 episodes was really awesome to experience, because he goes from this broken, shelled up guy to actually opening up to Ellie, because at first he hates Ellie. He does not want anything to do with Ellie, and the only reason he is even taking Ellie in the first place is because he needs to get like a car engine to go find his brother, because of course Tommy and him have gotten separated during the immensely huge time jump that we take, about a 20-year time jump. It is really, really long. Probably the longest time jump we've ever taken within a show. But yeah, everything with Joel in this first season was just awesome. Every time you see him on screen, you'll just enjoy your time with him. And yeah, his action sequences fighting the random people, especially the fireflies, those were cool scenes. And his fights with the clickers were even awesomer. And his just relationship with Ellie is just a really awesome one to see on screen and to see play out. And I cannot wait to see what they do with the character of Joel in season 2, especially considering at the end of season 1 he kills all the fireflies and lies to Ellie about it. So we'll see how that turns out. But now moving on to basically the main character of season 1, Ellie. Ellie is actually a really good character played by the beloved Bella Ramsey, and honestly she does a phenomenal job in this role. She digs into the emotions for Ellie perfectly, the comedic side of Ellie perfectly, the sarcastic side of Ellie perfectly. Everything about the character of Ellie she does perfectly, and she brings the video game adaptation of Ellie to live action life basically. She does a phenomenal job in the role, and honestly I'm glad to say she's one of those characters that could carry an episode by herself, because in episode 8 of course Joel is like okay, he's alive, he's still like sort of recovering from his injuries, which kind of gives the star power to Bella Ramsey's character of Ellie, which causes her to be fighting these cannibals who actually try to chop her up and eat her. But yeah, that entire society subplot was really, really amazing and really well executed and well done. And actually one of the actors of the cannibal was the actor who played Joel in the video game, so that was a cool little nod to the Last of Us lore. But yeah, just that episode alone was probably my favorite of the series so far, due to the fact that just Bella Ramsey plays Ellie so perfectly that I could confidently say she could carry an entire freaking season if she needed to, probably, because honestly she carried an 1-hour episode, you know, and it was really entertaining from start to finish with her character. And even she carried 2 episodes in a row. The episode with her backstory was a really good episode, and episode 8 where we're dealing with present day and just Ellie trying to survive. Those were 2 really good back-to-back episodes. So clearly she could handle the show on her own, because eventually they're probably gonna do the inevitable and kill off Joel. Hopefully not in this season, or hopefully never. That's like the one thing I don't want them them to do that is faithful to the game, because Joel does die in The Last of Us Part 2, but hopefully he does not die in Season 2 itself, because that would be pretty disappointing. And we already know there's going to be a Season 3 and a Season 4, so honestly, just keep Joel alive at this point. There's no real good reason to killing him at this point, at least. Maybe they do introduce a plot where it makes sense for the character of Joel to die, but right now it makes zero sense, so please just keep him around. But yeah, that was my little rant to the writers and directors to just keep Joel alive. But back to Ellie. Yeah, her character is just so awesome. But yeah, that's really all I have to say when it comes to Season 1 of The Last of Us. You know, there's not too many characters to break down. We can obviously break down Tommy, but it's gonna be a quick one because you only see him for 2 episodes, episode 1 and episode 6, which he plays, like, the actor for Tommy plays him perfectly. You may actually recognize that actor from Terminator Dark Fate, which he nailed that role down too, but him as Tommy is so perfect. Gabriel Luna really does an amazing job, a fantastic job, and I cannot wait to see what they do with his character for Season 2. But besides that, that's really all I have to say about Season 1 of The Last of Us. It is a really awesome show, and I could see why it has won awards, and I cannot wait for Season 2. I'm just really excited, counting down the days, and honestly, the recent trailer that came out that I forgot to break down, I am so sorry. If you're a fan of my channel and wanted to see me break that down, maybe if you still want to see me break it down, you could comment, break the trailer down, and I'll just do it, because I need to know that you guys are watching my videos. Anyway, but yeah, Season 1 of The Last of Us was a masterpiece, and I cannot wait for this show to return. And unfortunately for Season 2, we are gonna get some other twists and turns. Unfortunately, that does mean less episodes, because obviously for Season 1 we got 9 episodes, but for Season 2 we are looking about 7 episodes, which sucks, but it's like a 2-episode difference, so hopefully they just nail it down, and hopefully it's a good transition for Season 3. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm counting down the days, like I said, but this has been my review for The Last of Us Season 1. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my video. Hopefully you agree with my thoughts on Season 1. Bye guys.